So here is the issue that we are having with this. First, I will note that on here you will see the numbering configuration as motor 1 is this one as identified here. This is motor 2. This is identified as motor 3, and this is identified as motor 4. So the configuration as labeled has 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of the motor configuration. Betaflight has these identified as motor 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is incorrect. Obviously, there's misalignment between these. The next step is to go into the CLI, and in this command box, type in resource. You don't need to put the pound sign in. The pound sign, it does it automatically. Type in resource. It comes up with a list, and it tells us which motors are assigned to which pins. So motor number 1 is assigned to pin B00, then C09 for 2, B01 for 3, and then C08 for 4. So what does that look like? That looks like this. Okay, so I just read out motor 1, B00, 2 is C09, B01, and C08. Again, consistent with what is there. So what needs to be done? Well, we know that motor 1 needs to be motor 3. Motor 2 needs to be motor 4. Motor 3 needs to be motor 1. And motor 4 needs to be motor 2, so that they're aligned to the actual labels on the device as it should have been in the first place. So, again, if you follow along on this side, I'm going to read it out again. Motor 1 becomes motor 3, motor 2 becomes motor 4, motor 3 becomes motor 1, and motor 4 becomes motor 2. That's what you see listed here. So that means in the new configuration, motor 1 will be B01, motor 2 will be C08, motor 3 will be B00, and motor 4 will be C09. So how do you set that? Let's go back to Betaflight, and we're going to type in, and I'll show you the following results. Oops. So here we go. So you type in resource in the box. Resource motor 1 B01. Consistent with what we have here. And what you'll see, it'll say B01 already assigned to motor 3, so then motor 3 has been disabled, which is fine because we're going to reset motor 3. Then it says resource is set to B01. That means now motor 1 is set to B01. We continue on that pattern for the rest of the motors for 2, 3, and 4. So again, we'll see in 4 that the last motor is set, and you see that it no longer says disabled because motor 3 is assigned and 4 was disabled here, and now I enabled it here. So just to finish up, motor 4 became C09, so you see that's what we had here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this in case you want to pause it. So the next step is to get the resource list again by typing resource to confirm the changes. So now we see motor 1 is B01, then C08, then B00, and then C09, which is consistent with what the intent was and clearly different from what it was originally. Originally we had motor 1 was B00, now we see motor 1 is B01, which was exactly what we wanted. Motor 2 is now C08. Originally it was C09, we wanted C08. Motor 3 is now B00, originally it was B01, now we see it's B00. And then motor 4 was C08, and now it's C09. So now this is what it was up here, and now this is what it is. So now it's all been corrected. And now before we move on off of this page, the last thing to do is obviously click save. So we're going to do that now. It's going to reboot the system. So I have to do that while we're recording. So there you go, type in save, hit enter, and it reboots. So now let's go back to the CLI, type in resource list. Oh, there it goes. Type in resource list. Resource. Oops. Sorry. Resource. And then we're going to scroll. So I'm trying to hold at the same time. So we're going to see motor 1 remained B1. So we should see B1, C08, B00, and C09, which is exactly what we see. B01, C08, B00, and C09. So now we should be able to go right into the motors and test them. Here we go. So let's go to motors. I have a battery connected. So now we're going to spin up motor 1. So motor 1 is now this guy, which is correct. It was this guy, now it's that guy. So let's do motor 2. Motor 2 is this guy, which is now correct. Motor 3 is now this guy, which is correct. And now motor 4 is this guy, which is correct. So now it's correct. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll see that's exactly what Betaflight expects. I have to hold it vertical because this is showing the front. So it expects to see, hold on, let me turn that motor off. It expects to see motor 1, the two rear motors should be 1 and 3. You'll see there 1 and 3. And then here from right to left 2 and 4. And now you see it's 2 and 4. So now, not only do the motors match exactly sort of what's aligned here, but also the configuration that's allowable within Betaflight. There are multiple configurations that are allowable within Betaflight. If you were to go back to the configurations page, you can see that there's different types of quad setups. So if we quad 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers them differently, but this still wouldn't have aligned at all, and it still identified this one as motor 1, which that in the back is motor 4, so it still would have been incorrect, obviously. So it had nothing to do with the allowable configuration. So there's no configuration that you're going to see that's according to the red, which is 1 and 3 in the back. So let's look. Nope, 1 and 3 over here. The other configuration is quad plus, which is not this one at all, right? Because that's showing that it's a different sort of setup. And the only other one available, and you can see I can scroll all the way down at the top, is this configuration here. And in this configuration, you can see 1 and 3 are on the back, and 4 and 2 are in the front, but it would be reversed. So there's no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not even sure if reversing motor directions would do it. But even so, that is not how the unit is labeled. I mean, that's not how the motors are identified, right? So this is how the motors are now identified according to Betaflight. So on the top plate, it was identified this way, but again, that's not how Betaflight originally saw the motors. That's why we went through that process. So now it's all set. All set, finally, fixing something that didn't need to be fixed.